Okay, we're doing pick 3. Pick 1, 2, or 3. Use your own intuition. These are just messages to reflect on. We're going to focus in on a trauma. We're going to look at some other aspects of the situation. And I'm going to give you an art therapy card, which will be aimed at helping you move the energy of it. And before I got started, I just started getting so exhausted. So I don't know if that's going to be a theme, like you may be feeling exhausted, or it might be just part of the first message. So listen to as many as you feel resonate for you when you listen to your own intuition. You're not limited by anything I say here. It's just information to reflect on. And let's get started. Pick number 1. Alright, pick number 1. Like I'm feeling like I want to just take it easy. Like I don't have a lot of energy to exert or put into this thing. But I'm still feeling like I should do it. Or I'm in it. I'm already in it. I'm already doing it. So while I'm doing it, I'm just going to take it easy. And there's nothing wrong with that, and it's not even like... The reason why I'm even noting it is because it was just a change from how I usually am, right? Like I just felt like this pull back energy. Okay, let's see. We got having 2 heads. Are 2 heads really better than 1? Just think of the bad breath. This card reminds me of Gemini energy. All of these piles could be tied together, to be honest. Grumpy. A grouchy dwarf who gradually accepts Snow White and rushes to her aid when she is in danger. Interesting. Wow. This card came out in the last reading I did. A book or movie about my life would be called blank, and it would be about blank. Okay. From the astrology oracle, we got Achilles, Juno, and Osiris. Oh, very interesting. Okay. A weakness and a commitment. Yeah, it's like you're already in a commitment. You're already in a commitment. But it's making you weak. You are committed to something that's making you weak. And it might be because of the story that you tell yourself about what your life is. Yeah. This is saying make each day count. And when I say that, it's like, make sure that you're not just going through the motions. That every day is just like a one foot in front of the other with nothing adding up to anything. If every single thing that is of enjoyment is in the future, then it's asking you to kind of look at this, because life is meant to be enjoyed. And if you don't have room for that in here, and you're just very grumpy because, you know, you're trudging ahead in a weakened state because you've already committed something to something. And maybe you're waiting to be won over. Like, it feels like you are doing this, you know that it's not making you happy, but there's another part of you that's saying, it's probably going to turn around. I'm probably going to get something back out of this. Like, the investment isn't for nothing. Yeah, look, we got perseverance. And this card is meant to say, like, what's the thing going on here? You're persevering, and it's like, credit where credit is due. It's a great quality to have. We need to be able to persevere through difficult things. And it's just like a question here about whether this is something that is actually going to pay off the way you are telling yourself it will. You're actually in a weakened state, and it's due to a fragment. There's a trauma here about what story you're telling yourself about what life should look like or who you should be within your life. Okay, so the art therapy card we got was My Journey. Goal for the activity, to give yourself guidance. And it's suggesting that you use some drawing and you commit, since you are good at committing, to 1 hour. And, you might not be committed to another person in this situation, but you may. I think it is a person, because having 2 heads is better than 1, but just think of the bad breath. Somebody talks a good game, but it never pans out to what they're saying. Because I'm not taking that as literal bad breath, although it may be, but what I'm taking that is to say is like what comes out of their mouth is not on, And this is asking you to look into this deeper. Draw a winding road on paper. Consider where you are on this path and draw yourself there. Add roadblocks along this road representing what you have overcome in the past on the road behind you. Challenges you're facing currently and what you anticipate in the future on the road ahead. What do you need? Can you add helpers to your path? It says explorative questions. What did you notice about what you have overcome? How do you feel about potential challenges ahead? And can you name one thing you need today to help yourself? I just heard a backbone, and I'm not trying to judge you or put you down, but maybe this other person does. Yeah. And you're trying to win this person over. Maybe this person won you over in a way. Yes, that's very possible. So these days that you're living this pattern are adding up. Like, you know the pattern now. It's saying the pattern's complete, you've seen it all. Nothing's just going to magically change out of this pattern because it is a looping pattern. And you're committed to it as it is, so you're not going to be changing it because you've already committed to it how it is. And maybe you are using the idea of a different potential, holding out for things to change, as the fuel to keep continuing in the pattern. But what you don't realize is all the other factors in the pattern want this pattern to continue. So even if there's another person, they're not looking to grow and learn and change the situation because it's working exactly how they wanted it to work. Especially if they've got you on a back foot. So my laptop ran out of room.
They're bouncing something.
My granddaughter's now here. It's like I've gone through the day. That was like at 8 o'clock this morning, and now it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And my granddaughter is in her special spot, in her nook. And I'm going to finish your reading. But I think running out of room is like part of the reading, right? Because we were saying that this person likely has you on a back foot, and that's part of their strategy of the relationship dynamic that they're benefiting from.
We're building something for the axolotl.
Oh, that sounds good, Hazel.
I like watching it.
And
It's good. It's safe.
basically what the message is that you will be running to the ground. Like, you'll just run out of what it takes to do this. Because one way or another, this pattern is going to change, because it's not part of your soul's calling to continue it. That's why it's being brought up into your attention now. Let me just pause and explain to Hazel that I'm talking to you guys and not her. Hold on. Okay. So when it talks about a book or movie about my life would be called what? And it would be about what? So some vision that you have for your life is the reason why you are telling yourself the story you're telling yourself about what you've committed to. And for some reason, you are persevering through it instead of realizing that it's weakening you. Even though there are lots of clues, right? So, I mean, in terms of just someone being grumpy, it's like, if someone's using grumpiness as a way to control you, and that's been working for a while, they're not going to be inclined to change that, right? You have to change something in the equation, and we need to put ourselves into the equation. It's like, not replace the fantasy of what it could be, what it should be, what it looks like to others with the reality. And that might hurt, you know? That might be a real ego blow. Your pride might get dinged. You might have to grieve the loss of this fantasy or what you thought this relationship could be. And if it's not a relationship for some of you, if it's your own war that you're having inside your head between your heart and your mind, you are being weakened by ignoring your heart and ignoring your soul's calling. And you will eventually run out of steam, so to speak. You know, things will be crumbling, and it's like, no, this isn't what you were meant to keep doing. So you are meant to notice this pattern of, maybe you're very dysregulated, and maybe you're someone who gets grumpy sometimes, right? And maybe it helps you regulate with the people around you, so when you need some space, you get grumpy. And it's asking you to map this out. Map out whether you're in a whether this is a relationship or this is just something that you've been doing within your own mind, a battle between your heart and mind, so to speak. Map out what the road looks like, where you've been, and what challenges you foresee, and which ones you're facing presently. And it's asking you to do this as a self-reflection, because I think it will help you sort of get out of it enough to see it from a bigger picture view. And you'd have to start being honest with yourself when you were telling yourself about what comes in the future on this road. Because you've already been on this road for a while. That's why you're in this weakened state. So you would have to be straight up lying to yourself if you started telling yourself that such and such was coming up on the road when it's not going to, because you've already been on this road for a while. And I have a feeling that you missed a turn, and or this was a wrong turn, and you just never corrected. You never corrected the path. So if that's the case, for those of you that rings true for, draw a fork in the road in the past, and then draw out what that path would have looked like, what challenges that path would have had. And then you'll know why you chose what you chose and what you're trying to avoid within. And this all has to do with the reality not matching the fantasy. In so many levels, I feel like. The reality doesn't match the fantasy. Whether you are imagining that the other path was a certain way and it never was going to be that way, or if you were imagining this path was going to be a certain way and it's not that way. You were imagining a certain person was a certain way and they're not that way. You are imagining you are a certain way and you're not that way. Something has been feeding this idea, and it's tied to a wound, because the reason why this can be exploited in you, and maybe has been, it's probably like a karmic partner that has taken up the space where whenever you don't take up your own power, somebody else will step in and use it against you. It's like how the universe works, because it is always seeking balance. So you have to look at this place. Well, where were you not taking up your own power? And it was this weakness, this Achilles heel. It's like you have a tendency to be weak in this certain area. And what it is it's the image portrayal. It's the idea about what you think your life is or should be. And it's a view that's based on fragmentation, because it's not based on the wholeness of who you are. It's only based on maybe a logical view or a passed down family view or a societal view, and it doesn't take into consideration the authentic you, which is a version of you that's not living for those other things, but that's actually living for the experiences you meant to have as a soul and who is led by your heart. So that's where it comes in with this war. It's like, oh, well, if I were to do that, I'm not going to make money. And it's like, well, your quality of life and what you're spending many hours a day doing every day matters too. Maybe you would make a moderate living, and maybe that's what you need. Or maybe on a different path, some other opportunity would inspire you to something that you didn't even know you enjoyed, something that you were really good at, something that you hadn't even thought of. It's like when you're following your heart, things don't make logical sense. And this isn't to say you should throw away all logic and never follow anything logical. This is just to say that there is a happy balance between both things. And when you look at this deeper, you'll probably see how you, instead of saying how you went wrong, I'm going to say how you benefited from going on this side quest. Because you learned some things while on this side quest that you needed to learn. And now that you know them, you can put things back into a perspective and a prioritization that makes sense for the wholeness of who you are, not just the image that you're trying to portray. And that you may even decide to commit to yourself and this pursuing what your soul wants and the reason that you're here, rather than just pursuing what the image or the story or the idea was of how it should be. One more thing I want to add is, I think this might be difficult for some people to take in, because it's saying basically that your weakness is a tendency to just want to fit in and do what's been sold to us as successful. It's like, this is the roadmap to success. Do this, do this, do this, do this, and then you're successful at life, right? But your soul actually has something else in mind, and you haven't been considering it in the equation. So that means that you're sort of running out of steam, because your soul says, hey, wait a minute here. We didn't come to pursue that egoic thing. We came for that egoic thing to be shattered within our reality so that we could actually pursue what we meant to pursue. And that's when you're going to have all the energy in the world. That's when you're going to feel really successful, because you're going to start to see that, oh, when I follow my heart knows the way. When I follow my heart, I have plenty of energy for the things I need to do. I have just the right idea. I'm in a synchronized orchestration, and things happen just as they need to, right when they need to. It's really amazing. I have experienced that, I'm not saying I always experience that 24/7 every day, all the time. But, you know, there are days that I'm just like, for days in a row, it's just like everything's falling into place. It's like, oh, I picked this up for this person, and oh, there they are. And it's like, you know, just things like that, little things that just add up to like ease in life. And you just can't ignore it when it's happening like all day for a few days in a row. And then you're like, wow, like this is pretty cool, right? When you're always in the right place at the right time because you've just been listening to your heart. And when you're listening to your heart, not only will you get the good direction to go in, but you will be allowing the things that need to come to you to come. You'll be in a magnetized state to allow the things that you've been wanting to manifest to come to you. Because if you are in resistance to your heart and your soul's calling, then you're in resistance. And your heart and your soul's calling is not going to put you in a position to succeed in a way that would distract you from your soul's calling, you know? So you'll end up sabotaging, or something won't go right, or you won't be in the right place at the right time, or it'll turn out that it was a lie, and it wasn't what you thought it was. And these are the things that the experiences that we call karmic, right? But it's because it shows us us. It shows us, oh, I was prioritizing this, when actually, if I really was honest, and if I really got, you know, quiet with myself, the reason that I wanted that is because I just wanted my father's approval. I just wanted people to respect me. I just wanted people to think that I was kind of nice and cool and had it all, you know? I just wanted to be safe in the world. I just wanted to make sure I had enough resources, so I just wanted to be safe. And then you realize, like, it was coming from a space that wasn't authentic to who you are, because the authentic version of you isn't scared about your safety and doesn't need your father's approval or anyone else's in order to know your value. Okay? Yeah, it's asking you to break down some walls, which, in regular everyday life, it's you might think, why would I do that? Because then I'm going to stick out like a sore thumb, or I might, not make it, or whatever fears kind of come up. Those are normal fears, and it's just asking you to face them, because besides all that, you're here for something else. Besides finding out about those fears within yourself and resolving them, you're here to actually pursue something else. I think you might even have a clue about what it is. If you have been following one train of thought with regard to your life, and you knew there was another one that was niggling you, and always a possibility on a back burner, that's probably the one that's waiting for you and you're being nudged towards now. Okay? Alright. I'm gonna stop your reading there. Pick one. It was a pleasure to give you this information to reflect on, and we'll see you next time. Hi, pick two.
What? What's that?
Oh, hi, Hazel. I'm still recording my video, okay?
I'm just watching my Minecraft with the building for the rock developers.
Okay.
It's so great.
Alright, that's good. Enjoy.
So cute. This one is a colorful one.
Alright, enjoy. We can talk about it more later, okay? Okay, so there may be delays, distractions. Let's see what we've got here. Telling a lie. Pinocchio. Whenever Pinocchio tells a lie, his nose grows. Single event trauma. Okay. So far I've got the impression that someone lied about a trauma. It's telling a story about something they've endured, and it's because they want love. They want someone to, care. And maybe there's an exaggeration, or it's a story about something that actually happened to someone else, but they're telling it as if it happened to them. self-esteem. And maybe you know this. Maybe if you're not the person who's doing it, maybe you know someone who's doing it. Either way, this reading is for you. I possess gifts of the soul that benefit me and others. So self-esteem is actually at the crux of the issue here. Release relationships that are no longer working for you. Yeah, at some point in the first reading I said these readings might be all tied together. So it's possible that this is the person, the other person from pile 1. It's possible. The person that was being manipulative, right? If that's you, you can still listen to this reading, although I wouldn't expect that you would stick around, because I think you might feel perfectly fulfilled in the way that you've been doing things and not really motivated to change anything. But if you are watching this and you do find yourself curious about changing things, or even if you know that you would never would, I'll just say that, like, just like in pile 1, there's this thing like, this isn't going to continue to go on, right? So the truth always comes out. The truth always comes out. It might not be on your timeline or even on the timeline of the person that you lied to, but on God's timeline, on the divine orchestration of the universe's timeline. So here we have 7th house. This definitely has to do with relationships. Proserpina. It's like a underworld goddess, I think. Cupido. You may be doing this to try to rope somebody in to be your rescuer. And lying by omission might be actually what it's happening. Yeah, I just got chills on that one. Okay. I think this is more like lying by omission. Okay? So you've left certain details out because you were trying to formulate a relationship, right? Maybe you're even trying to leave a relationship that's really bad for you, and you're trying to get into another one, and you haven't been honest about that is what you're doing. And it's also possible that this is a reading that's for a person who is lying to themselves about whether or not they have been traumatized by the situation they were in. And if you have been in a situation that could have been traumatizing, but you don't feel like you've been traumatized by it, this is saying, like, you maybe are traumatized by it. And it could have been a relationship that you were traumatized by. And it's like, maybe you haven't yet become the version of yourself that can process through the truth. So you're not revealing it to yourself fully yet. It's like you've got to digest it in small parts. So there's like 3 different scenarios here that I just named, right? Somebody has been lying to you, you've been lying to yourself, or you've been lying to someone else. And this reading is basically talking about this being rooted in a self-esteem issue, no matter which party you are, even if you're the one being lied to. If you're not able to release a relationship that is not built on authenticity and agreements, then there's something within you to look at, right? Within your self-esteem, like, why wouldn't you value yourself higher than that, So let's see, we have favorite place. A goal for the activity is to boost happiness through appreciation. Use photography and digital art and commit about 30 minutes for this. It says, take a photo of your favorite local place. While you're there, tune into your 5 senses and notice your feelings. Pause there as long as you like. Print your photo, if you like, and hang it somewhere you will see it often, or save it as the background on your phone or computer. 1. explorative questions. How did tuning into your senses at your favorite local place feel? Is this a place you'd like to visit by yourself or share with others? What element of this place can you incorporate into your day today? I believe that the reason why this is the therapy card for this situation is because when you're in your favorite place, we know that there's at least one aspect of this location that you like, that you enjoy, that you feel comfortable in, right? And when you tune into your body in that state, it's much easier to tell whether something is a lie or not. It's a meditation within itself. And when your mind is off of this thing, because if you've been lied to, or if you've been lying to someone or yourself, it's likely in the back of the mind is there's a niggling. Something feels off. Something feels, you're a little bit stressed, you're a little bit anxious. You might not even know why. It's because of the lie. And when you take your mind off of it to focus on something else, such as an activity like this, favorite place, then your intuition can kind of slip you in some nuggets that will help you make sense of it. Probably truth nuggets, right? And the reason why we're not going to focus on it fully to try to get those truths and nuggets is because you're just too biased, you're too tense, you're too bothered by it. And it's asking you to kind of remove your attention from it so that when you do get the impressions or whatever intuitive nudges about the situation, that you can hear them. So it's like, do something that you actually enjoy and like and somewhere you feel safe. And get your mind off of this for a few. And do this as much as you can until the information you need comes. Because there's a lot of blank, like, unknowns in the situation right now. There's unknowns. You don't know the whole truth, and that could be in the situation where you are lying to someone, and that you don't understand that they already know. It could be that someone has been lying to you, and you don't know the whole of it, right? Sometimes, if someone's lying to you, it's enough to just know that. You don't even need to know the truth. So many times I've had to walk away just on the premise of, I don't know what exactly is going on here, but I know it don't feel right. I'm out. So, and then you could be lying to yourself because you haven't been the version of yourself that can handle it quite yet. So you're becoming that version before you get things revealed. But this does seem to be a romance or a crush or a love type situation, or what was meant to be love, at least from someone's perspective. But really, it's just been kind of poking in the boo-boo places. Yeah, because like if you get anxious about just being around a person and you're not sure what the truth is and whether it's a lie, and or if you're overreacting and all that stuff, it reveals to you a lack of confidence in your own self to trust yourself, right? Because once you become a more confident version of yourself and somebody's acting like that, you either directly, address it with them, or you leave the situation. Basically, it's like you just have too much respect for yourself to even like play in those games, because what it is a very immature way of coping with life. So if you've kind of matured past that, you recognize it as such, and it would be like trying to play playground games with kids who are picking on each other. It's like you just would never do that because you're an adult, right? Well, it's kind of like that. It's like there's an emotional immaturity that is missing in this situation, and that if it was present, that it just wouldn't be handled this way. And it's okay to handle it, how you have to handle it until you get to the place where you can handle it, Like if you're being lied to and then you realize it and then you know like that you don't know all the answers, it's like maybe there are a few things you do need to know before you proceed to exit the situation, because maybe you need a good strategy. Maybe there's something that you got to cover all your bases. Maybe there's something that you hadn't thought of before you do exit. Maybe you need to do it very quietly instead of overt and loud and obnoxious and angrily, or if you're the person who has been lying, maybe you need to know that that is not going to work anymore and have a reason to address it within yourself. Like, what is the reason that you do those things? And maybe you wouldn't tend to take some time to tune into your body or into nature in one of your favorite places, because then you know that you're going to get nudged with the discomfort of what you've been doing. Maybe you would feel like shame or guilt, and that would kind of start bubbling up. So you might not tend to be doing those things. So if you're feeling averted to that suggestion, just know that there is a reason that you're feeling averted, and it's a clue as to what is at the root cause of what you've been doing. Okay. All right, Pick 2. That is your reading. Remember, it's just information to reflect on. We're going to move on. Hello. Pick 3. We have courage at the base of this. Helper, rescuer, carer. Hardened and locked heart, the drawbridge is up. Become invisible and small, or hide myself. These are all survival responses. Okay. What else do we have here? The desert. A hot, dry region known for rattlesnakes and cactuses. So far, pile 3, I am feeling like you've been in some dysfunctional relating patterns that have you not getting your needs met with the relationships that you have. Meaning you're maybe like a giver and no one's giving to you, something like that. Ghosts. Boo. Then we have Gemini, Trine, Moon, first quarter moon, Fuchsius, 0 degree, solar return. Okay. There's something new here. Like, it would be totally brand new if you started saying no to people asking you for help or favors all the time. People would just be like, what? Like, they would be so shocked, right? That they couldn't just call you up and have you answer, right? We do have give without expectation. There's something here about your giving, though. I feel like this card isn't necessarily needing to tell you to give without expectation, but I will mention it briefly in case there are a few people who are giving with the expectation of it being reciprocated or them being appreciated. There's a whole, I feel like there's a whole thing to say about that, but I don't feel like I need to say it, because I feel like the more important thing to say for this reading anyway is that people are expecting you to give. And I don't think you do expect anyone to give to you. Maybe you're not even a person who allows yourself to receive. I think people... I just heard maybe forget your birthday. Yeah. Whenever you need something, it's the desert, right? It's like, it's ghost town when you need something. It says, I find inner strength to face fear with confidence. So this has built you up, right? You can kind of live on very little sustenance. And when I say sustenance, I mean love, right? Because your heart is closed. That's why you've even been tolerating the situations you've been in. You have made yourself a role as the hero, the helper, the rescuer, the carer. And it is so ingrained here that people have just come to expect it from you. And maybe you have a lot of needy people around you. And that has kept you quite busy. But I would challenge you to wonder what would happen in the moments when no one is calling you for help. Do you feel comfortable in your own skin? Do you feel guilty when you have some time to yourself? Do something for yourself, you know? Those are clues about how you're managing your worth. And because there are so many people around you that do expect you to continue doing what you're doing, and you've been doing it for quite some time, I feel like you're going to have to be creative and different. And it's going to take a lot of courage, because what you're really here to do isn't that at all. Now, you have the skills to survive in a desert. You do. But I feel like it's saying have the courage to get out of the desert, because you don't have to live in the desert. You absolutely don't have to live in the desert. But in order to go in the other direction, you have to be prepared to be seen. I almost got tears come up to my eyes right when I said that. You have to prepare to be seen, and that will take the courage.
Can I have the phone with me in the bathroom?
Yes, Hazel.
I think I will get scared.
Okay. So that's very interesting. So my granddaughter's in her nook, and she's been playing with the phone, watching some videos on it. And she just asked if she could take it into the bathroom with her, because she was feeling like she would be scared without it. And I feel like that is like tied into this reading in the fact that like it added this message, which was that maybe you do feel very fearful, especially of being seen, and you'll need to have the courage to allow yourself to be seen, but also maybe there's something you can take with you that will help you feel a little bit more comfortable. You know what I mean? Because I read once about courage. If you don't have any, the way to get courage is to make sure you make yourself a safety net. So you need a safety net so that you can proceed to become seen. And I'm not talking about people seeing you on a shallow level. I'm talking about people seeing you in the world, but also allowing yourself to be seen on an intimate level, intimacy. And that means the people that will be around you after you make this change that you're going to make will be able to see you, because they won't be people who just need something from you and who never look back and think about you. There will be people who are reciprocal. You don't need to do anything for them. You won't know what to do about that. You've been very comfortable in being needed, and because you know your role. Well, this ties into your childhood. That's how you grew up. You knew what to expect because you were told. You basically like put in a box, and you were like, this is what you do. Do this, act right, be good, you know. And maybe being the helper was what was expected of you. Maybe you had to step up and be a bigger help than other siblings, or maybe you were like the stronger one, or maybe you were like the smarter one. Maybe you were like could do numbers or fix cars or whatever it was. You were the one that people could turn to. And the reason that you became that person was because of a coping mechanism for something that happened in childhood. Some dynamic where the people around you were not able to see you. So you had to fill in the role that they had available, which was, since they were so chaotic or since they were just expecting it, you had to be the helper. Yeah. You had to be the helper, and it's going to take courage to let them be disappointed. Now think about that. Think back to childhood. Who were you trying not to disappoint by being the good one, by doing the right thing, by giving and giving and giving without expecting anything in return? Who were you trying to make sure you didn't disappoint? Now, imagine them disappointed, because you know they are anyway. You can never please this person. It's just never enough. But so how does it feel, knowing that they are disappointed? Now you are going to validate why you've been avoiding this feeling, right? Because it's understandable. It was a scary way to feel, especially when you were a child, especially if it was your mother. But you're going to allow yourself to feel this way. Accept that that is how you feel. This is where you're at. You have to feel this feeling, which is an awful feeling, which you've been trying to avoid feeling. So you've just been jumping through hoops, jumping through hoops, jumping through hoops. Not necessarily helping your mother, but helping every other person. Why? Because it kept you busy enough so you didn't have to think about that. That's how you felt loved. You didn't have to think about the fact that your heart is not open. And it's hurt because you felt betrayed by being expected of. Oh, yeah, that's a big one. You felt betrayed by being expected of. So, what did it feel like to disappoint that person? Maybe you did it once. Maybe you saw someone else do it, and you never wanted to be treated that way. Be with the feeling that comes up. Allow it to be there. You're the adult. The feeling is like the child, and it just needs your attention. It just needs your acceptance. It just needs to be allowed to be there with you. Now that you're no longer in any resistance to it, it's going to eventually move. And when it moves, with it might be tears, release, you might feel hot as it releases out of your body because it's been there a while. And with it will go, some of that debris and that energy, but then you become the version of yourself that can handle that feeling. And that's the feeling you've been avoiding. And that's why you've been jumping through all these hoops of these people who just expect of you. I mean, I would say you have some endurance, right? You've been keeping this up for a while. And this is just saying, like, no more. Mother very well could have been learned from Mother, since we have the moon here. And it's saying, no, it's time to do this a new way. Rebirth yourself. Rebirth yourself. It'll take courage and allow yourself to be seen. You might be the example that everyone else needs around you in order to open their hearts to. Teach about what giving without expectation really is. It's when you have filled up your own cup, you have an overflow, an extra, and then you give. And then you're not invested in what they do with what you've given. Your worth doesn't matter on what they do. The value of your gift that you gave doesn't revolve around what they do or do not do with it. They could regift it, they could throw it away, they could break it, they could not say thank you. You've given because you were already filled up and you had something to give. And maybe, in the future you're discerning or whatever about where you give your gifts, but it's not because you're not giving so that you can avoid feeling a heartbreak, avoid disappointing someone, or to get your worth and value. Those reasons are not good reasons to give of yourself to your depletion. You're running your well dry, but it keeps wanting to tell me, like, but your well is huge and you've been going a long, long time and it's not dry. And maybe it would never dry up, but it's very time consuming. And there's another path for you. And it's a pioneer. It's a pioneer path. It's a different perspective than you've been in. You can't even see it until you clear up this wound. You won't even see it without clearing up the wound. Then you're going to see things different. And you're going to be inspired to do something in a different way. Probably something no one else has thought of. No one else is doing it that way. You have a perspective. It's a big picture view. You've considered all the sides of it view. And it might even be about how to handle emotions. Which I think you would probably doubt when I say that, because I don't think that you're in the habit of doing that. I think you've been in the habit of avoiding doing that. But you're not alone in that, right? Maybe you're surrounded by people who are in the habit of avoiding feeling things too. But you're an example. There's just no way around it. So what are you being an example of? This is asking you and reminding you that you're actually an example of courage. And the courage to break out of certain situations, but also the courage to just keep going with what you've already been through. People are already amazed by you because they're like, wow, you've been through so much and then you still have what it takes to help me through this, And maybe they would never say that, but, they think these kind of things, right? Some of them would never even give you the kudos. But everyone knows that you have courage. And maybe you just didn't know it. Maybe you were using it for something else. Oh my gosh. I hadn't even read this card yet, right? I'm holding it. I'm talking about being seen. It says, being seen. That's the artistic card. Being seen and acrostic. Goal for the activity, to explore who you are. Medium, writing. Time commitment, 30 minutes. Instructions. Write your name vertically on paper. For each letter of your name, pick a word that starts with that letter and describes who you are. Write the word horizontally, starting from that letter. Create a second acrostic for how you think others see you in the margins. I'm just going to show you this little example of what an acrostic is, apparently. This is an example of what they're saying. In the margins, create small symbols to go with each word. See whether you notice those symbols coming up during your day. Oh, okay. You're going to come up with words for each letter of your name, and then symbols, and then see how they come up. See whether you notice those symbols coming up during the day. Explorative questions. How do you feel about your acrostic? Do you notice similarities or differences between how you see yourself and how you assume others see you? So one of the acrostics is for how you think others see you, and one is for how you see yourself. Notice the similarities of the differences. Which word stands out most? And how can you bring this word into your life today? Very interesting, because I like the abstract approach, and I think that's really good for you as well. So this activity is meant to help you explore who you are, which there'll be a lot more room for when you're not so filled up on helping people. And it doesn't mean you never help someone again. It just means you're going to have to start putting yourself in the equation here. And you're going to have to start prioritizing the time that you need to be with yourself on why you've been doing it. And then after you heal that, when you do it, it's not going to be the same, right? It's going to be situations that are more fair and balanced and not draining you, and maybe even reciprocal. And you couldn't allow that for yourself until you healed, because if you allow yourself to receive, maybe you were in unfair situations originally in the childhood where, there was just transactional relating, or there was like an unspoken expectation of you when you got some help or when you got something. Oh, you got a gift. Well, now you're expected to be loyal to that person and, never disagree with them. It's like you kind of learn not to want to receive from people if there's like all these unspoken stipulations. Like, I can remember one time my brother was given a remote control car by my aunt, and he took it apart, and then he got in such big trouble. But if you think about it, like, he was just a curious young boy. It was his gift, and he wanted to explore the mechanics of how it works. That's actually a very cool thing to do. It's scientific, it's logical, it's understandable to want to explore the mechanics of something, And he got in trouble because it was expected that he would not do that. That he was expected to play with that, preserve it, all those kind of things. But he was in trouble because he didn't. And this is just an example of, as a child, like, you can really get screwed over by people's expectations of you. When really you're just, as a child, you're meant to be led by your curiosity. We're meant to be led by our curiosity even in adulthood. So we often lose that in childhood when we have parents who have expectations of us, and especially around what we are given. And then we can learn to not want to receive because we never know when it's going to backfire. And it's all pushed to the subconscious, so we might not even realize why we feel so uncomfortable if someone's giving us a gift.
I'm already done.
Oh, good job. Did you need me for anything?
No.
Okay.
Now can I go back under your bed?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Did you want to take a drink before you go under?
No.
Okay. And then Hazel's just climbing. She has like a little fort. My bed's lifted, so she has a little fort under there. And Hazel's like crawling back into the cave. And I feel like this is something that, you're going to do by yourself, with yourself. You're going to spend some time with yourself, kind of getting to know yourself, excavating some of those older things, and allow yourself the safe space to actually process it in. Because the same way you've been uncomfortable to receive, you might be uncomfortable with kind of these feelings that are going to come up about, what you reveal to yourself. Okay. That, pick 3, is your reading. And remember, it's just information to reflect on. And maybe we'll see you next time.